There is a specific kind of shattering that happens inside a highly sensitive person, and it's rarely the explosive, cinematic version we expect. It is a silent, tectonic shift, the kind that happens in the dead of night, where you wake up and realize the person you used to be has fundamentally altered. This is the quiet breaking point. It's the moment the soul decides it can no longer afford the cost of its own kindness. Today, we are exploring the 8 profound internal shifts that occur when an empath is pushed past their limit, enduring cycle after cycle of emotional wounding. 1. The neural lockdown. Your ability to resonate with others isn't just a personality trait, it is a biological function. Under normal circumstances, your nervous system is a finely tuned instrument. Your mirror neurons are constantly firing, allowing you to read the room, while your vagus nerve helps you regulate and connect. But when you are repeatedly hurt, your brain's survival center, the amygdala, takes over the controls. It begins to view emotional intimacy not as a source of nourishment, but as a predator. Your brain stops waiting for the evidence of a burn. It simply refuses to let you get close to the stove. This isn't a conscious decision you make at a desk. It's a physiological emergency. Your body begins flooding your system with cortisol and adrenaline the moment someone attempts to bridge the gap. That sudden racing heart or the inexplicable urge to flee a deep conversation. That is your biology building a fortress where a bridge used to be. 2. The dissolution of the emotional sieve. Naturally, an empath is like a high-end filtration system, taking in the energy of the environment and processing it. However, chronic wounding causes this filter to disintegrate. When your boundaries have been violated too many times, you lose the ability to distinguish between your own emotional skin and the atmosphere around you. You start to inhabit other people's states of being. A colleague's irritability becomes your inexplicable panic. A partner's sadness becomes your heavy, leaden depression. Because your system is in a state of hypervigilance, you are constantly scanning for the next emotional blow. You are no longer just feeling, you are searching for landmines. This constant surveillance of other people's moods is exhausting, leaving you with a profound soul fatigue that no amount of sleep can fix. 3. Trust as a physiological reflex. We often talk about trust as if it were a choice or a philosophy, but for a wounded empath, trust is a physical state of the body. When you have been betrayed repeatedly, your body loses the capacity to physically relax in the presence of another. You might logically tell yourself, this person is kind, or I am safe, but your muscles refuse to believe the lie. Your nervous system has kept a meticulous ledger of every time openness resulted in injury. Now, it uses that data to keep you in a state of bracing. You'll feel it in the permanent knot in your stomach when a friend asks for a favor, or the way your shoulders hike up to your ears when someone offers a compliment. Your body is perpetually waiting for the other shoe to drop, treating every act of kindness as a potential Trojan horse. 4. The erasure of the internal compass. Many empaths build their entire identity around being the healer, the listener, or the supporter. But when those roles are exploited, the empath begins to vanish. You spend so much time fine-tuning your frequency to match the needs of others that your own signal eventually fades into white noise. This creates a terrifying internal vacuum. You can navigate the complex emotions of a stranger with surgical precision, yet when asked what you want for dinner or what your dreams are, you find only a blank, echoing space. You haven't just lost your preferences. You've lost the self that has them. You have spent years keeping the peace by being a mirror, only to realize that a mirror has no color of its own. 5. The tyranny of default guilt. When an empath is hurt repeatedly, their internal logic undergoes a dark transformation. You begin to weaponize your own empathy against yourself. You start to believe that you are the architect of everyone else's disappointment. If someone treats you poorly, your mind instinctively searches for the way you failed to fix them or the way you provoked the behavior. This guilt becomes a baseline frequency. It makes setting a boundary feel like committing a crime. You feel a visceral sense of wrongness for simply having a need. You can feel the weight of how your no might inconvenience someone else so acutely that it feels easier to bleed yourself dry than to watch them be slightly thirsty. Your gift of understanding others becomes the cage that keeps you from protecting yourself. 6. The somatic protest. Emotional pain is a master of disguise. When it is suppressed for too long, it migrates into the tissues of the body. Chronic wounding in an empath often manifests as physical mysteries. This is the body keeping the score. You may suffer from persistent digestive flare-ups, migraines that feel like a physical manifestation of your mental load. or a heaviness in your limbs that doctors can't quite categorize. This isn't all in your head. It is your nervous system operating in a state of permanent high alert. Your immune system, overtaxed by years of processing stress hormones, begins to falter. Your body is screaming the no that your mouth was too afraid to say. It is a biological protest against a life spent carrying weights that were never yours to hold. 7. The performance of the whole. To survive, the wounded empath often develops a split reality. You become a master of the high-functioning collapse. On the surface, you are the reliable friend, the efficient worker, the person who has it all together. But internally, you are navigating a landscape of rubble. This mask is an adaptation, a way to ensure that you remain useful so that you aren't abandoned. But the cost of this performance is your authenticity. You eventually become so good at playing the role of the healed person that you lose touch with your own truth. You are an actor who has forgotten they are in a play, and the exhaustion of maintaining the facade eventually leads to a profound sense of isolation, even when you are surrounded by people. 8. The transition from depth to distance. The most tragic shift is the way connection itself changes from a source of life to a source of dread. For an empath, depth used to be the goal. Now it feels like a threat. You find yourself retreating into the shallow end of the social pool because the deep end is where the sharks are. Solitude starts to feel like the only place where you can breathe, not because you've become cold, but because every interaction feels like a transaction where you are the one paying the bill. You begin to crave surface-level interactions because they require less of your thinning emotional reserves. The beautiful trait that once made you feel special, your ability to feel the world, now feels like a curse you would give anything to silence. The path forward. If you recognize these shifts within yourself, I want you to hear this. These are not signs of weakness. They are not evidence that you are broken. These are sophisticated survival mechanisms designed by your mind and body to keep you alive in an environment that didn't know how to treasure your depth. Healing isn't about fixing these shifts so you can go back to being the person who let everyone in. It's about building a new version of yourself, one where your empathy is protected by ironclad boundaries. It's about realizing that choosing yourself isn't a betrayal of others. It is the only way to ensure you have anything left to give. Which of these 8 shifts resonated with you the most today? Was it the physical toll of the body keeping the score, or the feeling of yourself disappearing into the needs of others? Let's start a conversation in the comments below. You are not alone in this quiet breaking. If this brought you clarity, consider subscribing. We are dedicated to exploring the hidden depths of the human experience and finding the way back to ourselves. Thank you for being here.